Hello, beautiful souls, magical beings. How is everybody out there? Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I have something for you today which is a little bit different. This is a message for the feminine, but really it's more medicine for the feminine consciousness. So it's going to be quite multi-dimensional, a little bit deep. It's coming through in a different way. It won't resonate with everybody. So if it doesn't resonate with you, allow yourself to move on. There's no judgment in this space. And if you do feel called, then sit back, take a breath as we clear the space, call in the Holy Spirit, divine angels, benevolent guides and ancestors, spirits of Christ surround this space. No weapon against me shall prosper. Aho. So what this is a result of some personal work and journaling that I've been doing around a thread that's been coming through for about 18 months. When I was journaling about it last night, I received that there's a message within this for the feminine. So I'm just trusting that. And I'm called to share my process. And rather than that story starting from the beginning or the past, I'm actually going to start that from the present moment and work back and unpick whatever else is there with you in real time. So this is really speaking into aspects of the feminine consciousness that are seeking to be seen and comprehended. Okay. So, got the message. There's something in here for the feminine. I had two words, or words themselves, words, and assumptions, and defining. Something was coming really strong about the importance of definition. What led up to that was something that I'd been noticing a while. There was a thread, and what that was, how that was presented in this experience, was a post that I read last week. Now, this was a big debate and argument that was going on Facebook, and on the one hand there was a Christian quoting from the Bible, and the quote was, "Anything but the Lord is demonic." And they were basically saying that healing arts, Reiki, was demonic based on that quotation. And really, when I was feeding into it afterwards, it was really coming with the same energy that's basically got women healers burnt and hung in the past, right? This very literal presentation, understanding of the Bible in literal terms. Anything but the Lord is demonic. Then on the other side, you had all these people, you know, defending healing, defending Reiki, and this whole thing erupting. And immediately I had a sense of how much energy is actually being wasted in this situation for the exact reason that there's an intrinsic error. So it made it instantly irrelevant. And the way that I'm going to explain this, like, say, for example, you are watching an argument in your family and you're just sitting back listening, and you're sitting thinking, hold on a minute, you're not even talking about the same thing. You're talking about that conversation or that night, and you're talking about that. So you're sitting there thinking, I can't take any of this seriously. It's instantly irrelevant because people are not even talking about the same thing, right? Now, I was able to see immediately it was a problem with definition, going back to the Reiki posts. the person quoting the Bible had not clearly defined what she understood as the definition of the words of the quote. She hadn't clearly defined what she felt was the Lord. So therefore, how could she say what it isn't? To me, bringing in the clarity of definition would look like this. To me, the Lord equals God. God equals love, truth, and universal life force. So in other words, Lord is just a name for various different things. And because I'm very clear in my definition of that, I know exactly what that term means, what's beyond the 4 letters. To me, then, the statement taken literally it's not defined in the same way. Anything other than the Lord is demonic. So then she's picking Reiki. Now, by definition, Reiki means universal life force. So to me, it's the same thing. Now, side note, I do have an issue with, there are issues with Reiki and many other modalities, but that's down to how they're used and how the whole modality is marketed as such and promoted. But that's a side note. It's irrelevant to this conversation. Our whole argument, backwards and forwards, stress and proving and defending, all irrelevant, because essentially they're talking about the same thing. They're talking about universal life force. So I was observing how all of this energy was basically on a faulty kind of ground, if that makes sense. Now, rewind back further. About 18 months ago, my partner said, listen to this podcast. And I don't often listen to men talking online, if I'm honest. I had been listening to a couple of, I can't remember what his name is, but they're called High Level Conversations on YouTube. Really good, really intelligent guys. A lot of holistic knowledge across the board, intelligent conversation. But I don't always like with the men when they start talking over each other. I find they can get in that kind of arrogant kind of energy sometimes, not all the time. So anyway, we listened to this and it turned out to be a podcast because, again, I'm not great with names, but these are like well-known people in America. One of them used to be an actor. His name is Billy, I think. He used to be an actor. He'd gone into self-development, spirituality, all of this, and he'd been invited on this show. And the other guy was just like, he was the interviewer, very intelligent and very knowledgeable. He'd studied all the Eastern texts and all this stuff. And it started off where they were having this conversation. The whole topic, energy of these podcasts are esoteric, not necessarily spiritual as such, but discussing things other than, discussing the conversations beyond the higher consciousness, right? So to me, they started in the middle ground. They started, they weren't, it wasn't logical and scientific, but it wasn't deeply esoteric either. They were just in the middle ground. And the interviewer guy, he's very sharp, very on it, but he came out of left field. Billy was saying something, he was sharing an experience that he'd had or some information, some knowledge. He was in the discussion. And the guy just out of nowhere come at him and went, how can you prove that? How do you know that? How can you prove that? Now, it ended up where this podcast went really wrong. It ended up going viral. And this Billy, who's a poor guy, completely trashed his reputation as a result of this conversation. It got very heated in the end. It was all over the internet. And it kind of like, it was a turning point in his journey, and it was spoken about afterwards. And what happened was, at that moment, he didn't see what had happened, and he didn't defend himself. He didn't stand for, not defend, he did get defensive, but he didn't stand for his truth. Because to me, you start a conversation in one space. If you're talking about religion and spirituality, by nature, it isn't scientific. Then this guy comes with a very scientific energy. Where's your proof for that? Now, if that was me at that moment, I would have gone, oh, what do you mean? Where's my proof? I'm talking about what I was given by God. I'm talking about what spirit communed with me in a journey. I don't fucking need proof. What sort of proof do you want? I am the proof. Because you're coming in with a different, it's like two different bandwidths. So straight away the conversation is something else. And I personally would not have continued with it from that point, because I would have been like, I thought we were in a high level conversation where you understood the unseen, the esoteric realms cannot be proved. So why are you asking me for proof? Why do I suddenly need to provide proof? I'm not here to prove anything. But this Billy didn't do that because he didn't sense the change in energy. What he did do was get flustered and start to get a bit irritated. And then the other guy basically just, in the typical power over predatory kind of I've got to be right and look great energy, just absolutely demolished him. And his reputation got trashed. Now, anyway, the point of stay with me, right? The point of me telling you all this, straight away, I'm like, because Kai said, he was like, oh, blimey, what happened there? And I went, what do you mean? I said, I could tell you the exact precise moment that conversation went awry and why. And at that moment, I was quite pleased with myself. I was thinking, yeah. And he, like the masculine conscious, Kaizam couldn't really see the moment, whereas I could tell you the exact moment the energy changed and exactly what had happened. So if we kind of follow this thread and then come back from that, forward maybe from that, I'm giving you an example of my own process through time and space and through experience, where spirit gives me opportunities, experiences where I can witness how my gifts work. So back to the podcast with the guys, I noticed that I was able to see something in the detail that others couldn't. Then we fast forward to the same energy in this Reiki post, where it was like, I can see exactly, I can bring it down to where it becomes or is irrelevant, because you're not clearly defining, you're arguing about different things. You're not clearly defining. And in that moment, it was the same energy, the same ability that I have to see, but I noticed with the Reiki post a sense of what I could do about that. I didn't do it. That will be the next time. See, and this is how spirit shows and then suggests and then leads us forward with it. Now, Mother Sophia told me a couple of years ago very clearly, the divine feminine is ready to speak her truth. But she is sovereign, and she, when necessary, she speaks, she drops it in, and then she pulls back. She does not hang around for the fracas, for the argument, for the debating, for the proving. She ain't got nothing to prove. And she doesn't explain, defend, or any of that. She drops her truth and then she leaves it. She's not attached to it. And I noticed with the Reiki post, I'm sitting there reading it all, and I thought I could speak in here. But I noticed where you've got to be very careful, mindful, because it's very easy to get sucked into the defending energy, the proving, the arguing, and that's not the way. And I'm really not called to that. So I very rarely interact on this type of thing. But I did notice, I noticed where there could be an opening. In other words, I was observing it all and I was thinking there's not really a space there for me to explain myself, right? It's that energy. So I didn't. But afterwards, I did feel into, I thought, do you know what? There could well be, if I was just like a bystander, just listening to it all play out. And after the event, after the post had been gone and days later, I'm sitting there thinking, I know how I'd do it now. I know exactly what I'd say. So Spirit's teaching me to observe, to understand that that's what I do, and then to find a way to cut to the chase, because my medicine is truth, vibrational truth. My light isn't for everybody because it's way too close to the truth for some people and it's strong. And after that post showed me how, with what type of words and energy I could cut in, like bomb the truth, airdrop it, boom, like that, blow up the irrelevance of what they're doing. And talking about, it's not irrelevant to talk about things, but the way it was done, it's just a waste of energy. And I afterwards, I thought, right, okay, so what I could have said then, if I was forewarned, forearmed, foreprepared, which now I am through this series of events, I could just drop in with that very clear request. Can you repeat the statement that you're working from? Oh, okay. If the opportunity was there, right? Anything but the Lord is demonic. Can you define the Lord for me, please? A lot of people using these quotes and taking the Bible literally are Christians, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Whatever you choose to believe, whatever faith you have, whatever brings you comfort is divine. But when people start to make arguments on this basis, where it's really this dogmatic, rigid sort of like, I've just licked something off the floor and then I'm replicating it. I don't actually know what I'm talking about. I don't actually know what I'm saying. I haven't clearly defined it. So can you define the Lord? So this is where I'd go, you see, it's like a laser. So anyway, what's coming through now is, I feel like some of you may receive a reflection from my process of how Spirit weaves a thread through time and space, through our lives, through our life experience, to start to show us what our innate superpowers are. And we may not view them like that, but it's something that shows us where we're different from others, where our perception is different, where we see something differently. Then it may be where there's different experiences or scenarios, but with that same energy, with the same opportunity to witness what you do with that, what you do within that. And then as the time rolls on, we can see how that can be useful, see where it works, how it works, and what purpose it has within that. So that's that piece. And that was my process that I was journaling about when this message came through, that there is medicine in here for the feminine. So let's just unpick this a little bit by coming back to, because that's one aspect of this, is that mirror of a process, but there's keys and codes in here in a deeper way. So let's just unpick that now, because the things that were standing out to me as a result of this little journey of discovery and demonstration: words, assumptions, and definitions. There's something there around an enormous amount of, because my observation was this enormous amount of energy that was being put into this post. So really, if you think about all those people that are engaging in this argument, which is structurally inaccurate or missing the mark, it lacks clarity, it lacks definition, true definition, the defining of what you're actually talking about. So it's instantly irrelevant, but then there's all this energy and attention being put upon it, focused in it, and basically put into this swamp. There's something with this. There's something there that is mirrored in many other situations in life, relationships, conversations that go on, that essentially pull all of our attention into something that's irrelevant. And that energy, what I'm getting now is that energy scrambles our field. It causes like a confused kind of feeling. Not necessarily feeling, but I'm getting it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. Wow, okay, so that's coming through really strong now. So that's the mother speaking to the purpose of this message. Where are we wasting our energy on things that are irrelevant? And where are we? Let's look at this word definition, define. And really the crux of that is, how can you say what something isn't if you don't define what it is? Like, where are we? Let's bring it back to the self, right? That's all there is. Where and how are we defining ourselves, our identity? What is it's like there's something around the contrast of that. So if it's this, then it's not that. If it's that, then it's not this. It's a very, okay, so yeah, it's polarity, isn't it? It's a very black and white thinking. Oh, all right, yeah. So somebody may be feeling, I'm getting now, or stuck in a rigidity somewhere in the mind around a decision that they've made, which is a very black and white. And this is quite a masculine way of thinking. And by that I mean, and this is what this message is really multidimensional. The masculine consciousness is the assertive, the vertical. It's focused on a singularity, normally. If something's focused on a singularity or what something is, it's like it creates a direct opposite. It's that black and white. We can get into black and white thinking about all sorts of things in our life. And actually that's not very helpful, because it's the feminine consciousness that sees the in-between, that reads between the lines, that is the like the horizontal, the space in between. So this is really a call. I feel like this is spirit is calling us deeper into a very intrinsic understanding of the difference in consciousness between the masculine and feminine. It's a huge theme on this planet right now. And when we speak about it, myself included, we tend to talk about men and women. We can't help but go there. One, because we're in these bodies. Two, because that's how we experience ourselves, gender, and the other, the relation to the other. So we always bring it down to men and women, but this really isn't about men and women. It's a consciousness, epic consciousness presentation that wants us to understand the nature of consciousness itself. And that it's shown to me now like smoke rising, and the masculine, feminine, or the polarities. Yes, they're polarities, and our minds see them as so different, maybe as these opposites, maybe as different as black and white, but really they're like one stream of smoke that rises together, that moves in complete symbiosis. They cannot be separated. It's like they play different parts, working together to allow our vessel to move and experience, but it's also intrinsically woven in. Think about any one moment. 1 minute we're sitting, maybe thinking about something or have an idea, and in that moment we're in our feminine energy. The second we actually move our body and enact that idea, I'll get a drink, I think I get a drink, then actually get one, then we've straight away gone into our masculine energy. So in the space of one thought and action that takes 2 minutes of our day, we're shifting. Think of how many times we shift through the day without thought. So they're naturally working together in this symbiosis. But our minds have this fixation of maybe the black and white thinking, where we've boxed one as one and one as another, but really that creates a war or a separation within. And I can see like a finger pointing. It brings in that other than, and a blame energy, and that kind of, it's like the divide energy, isn't it? The divide and conquer energy. Interesting. What's coming in now as well is the word differentiation. And this is huge. It's a feminine consciousness superpower. In the in-between space that the feminine naturally sees into. It's just the way that our consciousness works. We're the negative force. We're the dark space. We're the womb. We're everything in between. So we tend to observe things about our environment, about people. We see things that others don't, right? We see in the spaces in between. Now, differentiation is a superpower, and it's been really diminished. So it's like another call from the mother to pull out these, unearth these threads, these gems that have been discarded and covered in, sort of buried completely. Now, think about your ability, my ability, your ability, an ability. It's not about in a man or woman body, because the feminine consciousness, the gifts, it's this seer ability, it's the intuition, it's that reading between the lines, the senses heightened. Now, differentiation in its pure essence is that keen sense of something in between. They call it the wolf's eyelash because you can basically sense in your energetic environment, you can sense things about people or the place. You know, when you walk in somewhere and you just sense a little shift of energy. That's differentiation. You can differentiate a very nuanced change in energy. You can differentiate between people's words and their energy. So regardless of what they're saying, you can sense there's something else about them. Now, if you wind back to when magic was revered and in its proper place and had a role in society, in our indigenous tribes, for example, if you were a seer, you would hone your craft. You'd be honoured, revered, you'd be known for that, and you'd hone your craft your whole lifetime. This ability to sense the wolf's eyelash, I sense things, a change in the field that suddenly means, oh, actually, we're not going to do it that way, we're going to do it this way. It means you can sense when somebody is not to be trusted, for example, even though there's no obvious reason for that. Now, in a reality where that's trusted and respected, that's a very powerful, potent gift, and people would go for advice, or you'd be called to the council or the village meeting around a stranger that had come into town or something, because you had the ability to differentiate things that others couldn't see or feel. When magic and the feminine arts in that way, magic was taken, harvested, taken power over and diminished, denigrated. There were various ways that they did that other than force. They implanted fear and suspicion. And one of the ways that differentiation was denigrated, was trashed, it suddenly started to be met with disbelief or scorn or mistrust. And this is key. Mistrust is the way that the feminine has been infected. So if somebody said, as they always had done, if you had that gift and it had always been that way, and as you always did, you felt naturally received, so you would offer that. You'd say, you know what, as an example, there's something about this situation, I don't think that person can be trusted. The second that isn't respected and received, then what you'll get back is disbelief. For example, the person, the society, the village that had always trusted you and believed that and known the power, the sacred, is no question. Now suddenly there's mistrust implanted. So the village will start to doubt you. The village will start to question you, 3333. The village will start to think, no, he's all right. Just don't know what she's talking about. And what that became is an accusation of gossip. It became where you weren't a powerful intuitive who just knew there was something wrong with that person. You just became a village gossip who was obviously bitter and whatever. You see the shift, how a powerful gift such as that can be diminished and turned into an accusation and a spiteful, scornful error in thought. Made so small, right? made so small. Think about the difference in wow, it's like one's to know the power of your gift, and for it to be received, reciprocated, trusted, to go from that to being scorned, called a liar or a gossip, and just discarded. Nah. So your wolf's eyelash is gold. Don't ever mistrust it, even if people around you don't receive you. This energy coming through feels really fierce in this moment. It's like the Great Mother is asking us to see what's truly within us and understand that these gifts of the feminine, they may be buried, but they're still there, and it's up to us to put them back where they belong, within us, within our heart. No one's going to give that back to us. I wrote on the corner there, darkness, the other day, last night, whenever. The feminine, if you think about feminine, masculine, light, dark, positive, negative, it's the unseen. The space in between. That's the way the consciousness works. It's the space in between. It's the unseen. And there's a loop back here to the word define or definition. There feels like there's a real deep call. A call out, like a wolf's howl. Ow! Redefine or define for yourself what the feminine is. Define it for yourself. How many overlays and fucking stereotypes and projections on the feminine are there? How we should look, how we should sound, how we should be, what we should do. Redefine what it is to be feminine and to be divine feminine. There's a whole other overlay of spiritual wiffle waffle when we come into this onto this path, into this spiritual community. I don't have a lot to do with anymore, because, to be honest with you, I don't think there is a spiritual community. People are people. Everyone's spirit. And people lumping themselves together, only sharing their light in those groups, can actually become more judgmental and superior and completely miss the whole point of this ascension when they put themselves in a spiritual community. There's a lot of ego there. There is a lot of projection as well when we come to embodiment, divine feminine. There's a whole other pressure that comes in when we suddenly receive the subliminals from the spiritual world that divine feminine has to look a certain way. It has to dress a certain way. Maybe it doesn't swear. There's all these connotations and projections and judgments around what we eat, what we choose to partake in, whether that's spiritual enough or not, what we wear, what we do, whether we still have a 3D job, all these layers of more assumptions that's coming back in. Assumptions are the mother of all F-ups. All of these layers of assumptions. Redefine for yourself the feminine, the darkness. Are we scared of the darkness? What is that? The feminine is the dark. People talk about the dark goddess and the dark feminine, and everyone's a bit, oof, because there's still a connotation. That's not clearly defined, is it? What does that mean? What does it mean? Because it could mean, could mean someone who practices dark arts. That's what it sounds like. Or is it just a part of the feminine, because the feminine is the dark space? Everything happens in the dark. Everything grows in the dark. Seeds are planted in the dark. We come from the womb. We're birthed from the dark. Does it make it bad? But there's a connotation in there, isn't there, of something bad. Something that could be a bit evil. The dark feminine. Oh, no. And then we speak about the dark mother. When I speak about the dark mother, I'm speaking about the wounded feminine. And yeah, it's a dark space. It's demonic, the same as the dark father. But that's not the same as talking about darkness in general. It's all this stuff, isn't it? It's like, what the fuck are we talking about? Be really careful where you put your energy in social media and Facebook, because if people, what are we even talking about? If anything triggers you, look within, because a lot of the time people are spouting words in one energy and it's being received in another. There's nothing to fear in the dark. The dark is a natural state of being. It's the nighttime. It's half of our life. It's the internal. It's beautiful. It's the place where everything springs from. Is that why a lot of people are afraid to look in the shadow? Because we've got all these connotations, dark witches, dark women, dark feminine. We've all got darkness within us. And so a lot of this stuff, I feel like what's really called for here is it's like switching a light bulb on. The mother, she wants to carry a light bulb with you as you walk so that you can get this clarity, this clear definition for yourself on what it means for you, because then you can embody that. Otherwise, what are we embodying if we're not able to differentiate between all this rubbish that's presented to us about how things should be, how things should look. And this is a massive thing as well that's being dismantled where it aligns with the old appearance. Women are, my God, bombarded with things of how we should appear. Our looks, how we age. Oh. So all of this stuff, it's all patriarchal programming. We're in Virgo season now, very deep look into the body, very deep at this 2025 pivotal threshold of humanity's consciousness. We're being asked to look again at our own body, where we are still controlled by somebody else's version of how we should look or appear. Are we crafting our whole experience from a part of us that is afraid to fully be seen in truth, without the overlays, without the masks, without the pretenses, without everything that we do to make ourselves appear a certain way? Wow. It's a very deep, ancient energy that's present within this. Feminine consciousness and consciousness in general, this work, it's not for the faint-hearted. This came through this morning. I'm really blessed at the moment to actually be having the surge of energy in the direction of recording and producing things that I've been meaning to for a long time. And I was really sitting with it this morning and I thought, fucking hell, you've got to have a burning desire for freedom to do this work. You really have. Otherwise you're not actually going to do the work, because it's too much. It's too deep. It's so deep. You've got to have a burning desire for freedom, like it's a non-negotiable. If I hadn't have had and hadn't already made the choice, it wasn't my destiny to stay where I was, but if I hadn't have had that burning desire, I probably, when I started awakening properly, because I'd been on a healing and self-development journey for 6 years before I awakened properly. And when the awakening properly started 5 years ago, there was a part of me that thought, should I just stay where I am? Secure job, conforming, yeah, but I know where I am here. You know, the illusion of safety, a salary every month. Could have just sucked it up, stayed there because it's safer and more familiar, and had a couple of nice holidays a year to try and satisfy myself. I mean, that wasn't for me, but some people do that, and fair play to them. That's their choice, because they don't have a burning desire for freedom. They're quite happy, and that's great. But personally, I didn't have that choice, because my whole life, my biggest fear has been not fulfilling my potential. And it nearly sucked the soul out of me to live that corporate life, hamster wheel. I was exhausted and beyond fed up with it. So you've got to have a burning desire to look into these spaces, to look into that darkness, and to look at yourself through the eyes of the goddess, through the eyes of love. Unconditional consciousness is what I mean by love. You know, this energy here reminds me of the dragon energy, cut like a laser. Differentiate, feels everything, nothing is missed. That really clear, strong, sovereign witness. And we are, this is what's needed now. It's what's needed to apply to ourselves, to get ourselves through this. And it's going to be needed in the world when we step up to what will be asked of us, which is a beautiful expression of you. And that's it. That's all it is. We don't need to worry what it is, how it looks. We just need to get in touch with these parts of ourselves that are so deeply buried that not only have we lost touch with them, but we've got no idea of their value anymore and of their significance and potential in a world that receives again. We're coming back to a world that's going to receive you. So take heart. Okay. I think that's it for now. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. And if you're still listening, I hope. Thank you for receiving. I trust whatever's in there, in whatever way, it will reach the right person. And yeah, thank you for all your support, comments, likes, shares, your energy. I can feel all of it. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. There are personal reading details in the description box if you want to link up. And I'm just sending you so much love. Until next time.